Hi, I'm Richard Socher. I run U.com, which is a new productivity engine, kind of a mix of ChatGPT plus Google, but with accurate citations and workflow automation. And I run a venture fund called AIX Ventures. It's short for AI plus X, and X is a lot of different things: biology, future of work, new AI tools, and what drives me is the quest for superintelligence. It's incredible how much intelligence comes out of these models when all they're asked to do is to predict the next word. Because it's such a surprisingly and beautifully simple idea, but it encompasses most of human knowledge. If you have it in text and you have to predict and finish every sentence, then you have to learn about geography, right? Just to predict the sentence of, oh, I'm in Boston, I'm driving south too. Now it doesn't make sense to say London or Montreal or something, right? It should probably be more likely New York or maybe Yale or and so you learn geography just by predicting the next word of sentences with city names. And so these models basically infuse human knowledge, and that's a really powerful idea. But the model doesn't really care that this is English, it doesn't have consciousness just because it talks about, oh, I have feelings, and just it read it somewhere on Reddit or on the internet, and so it says it. But you can take that same model and just predict amino acids and then have it create proteins for you. You can create music, you can create videos, just all these things are essentially neural sequence prediction models on different modalities: sound, text, programming languages, proteins, anything. The definition of intelligence is pretty complicated. If you really want to get a good definition of it, generally it's being able to solve problems and accomplish tasks that we believe require intelligence, but that's a little bit circular, right? So intelligence is like understanding your inputs and being able to interact with the world in useful ways. And so that's one thing. We can actually go a level deeper. I don't know how much time we have, but we can look at different groups and types of intelligence. I'm writing a book right now also on the side, and one of the ways I'll define it is in terms of about 10 different groups. There's language intelligence, visual or perception intelligence, manipulating matter intelligence, like physical world interactions, motor intelligence, those kinds of things. There's reasoning intelligence, there's knowledge, just like the more knowledgeable you are, the more intelligent we would consider you. Speed is almost its own dimension, but it's also one that is connected to everything else, right? You can collect knowledge faster, if you can speak faster, if you can understand things faster, that's generally better. There's social intelligence, creative intelligence, and then there's another type of intelligence which you can kind of call sort of metacognition, if you will, like the ability to think about what you're thinking about. And no one's really working on that, but it's clearly an interesting thing. Right now, AI just blindly optimizes some objective function. You give it the objective function to predict the next word, and it will predict the next words forever. It will never think, oh, maybe I don't want to predict words anymore. I'll just stop doing that. I'll just go and drive around. It cannot ever do that, right? And so is going to be an interesting question, how to think about and viewing AI with some more awareness or consciousness. But again, no one's working on that because no one makes money with an AI that does whatever it wants to do. I mean, the implications are boundless. The human condition will change once we have more and more intelligence on the planet. Right? Simple things like everyone can have a personal assistant, a personal tutor, a personal doctor. So the marginal cost of intelligence will go down, and that means we'll use intelligence in many more places that currently we don't. And so that's really exciting. I think it also means that long term we will do much more interesting work. Anything that feels very repetitive and boring in physical labor and eventually intellectual types of labor will go away. I don't know exactly all the new jobs that will be there, just like 150 years ago when 90% of people worked in agriculture. It's very hard to predict that we'll have a social media marketing manager role. But people will find interesting new things to do. It will put pressure short-term on various systems of society and different governments and people. I often see Europe being well positioned to soften and protect people from the downsides of AI transformation, but unfortunately it's not very good at having a structure where it can benefit from all the upsides of AI. And the US is a little bit the opposite. The US is great at getting the upsides from AI, but it won't help its people as much being protected from the downsides of jobs changing and certain things being automated. So there's no healthcare that's independent of your employer. There's less like continuing free adult education and things like that. Money certainly helps to make progress in science. You need funding to build things. And at the same time, I don't think just building a larger model is all. We need to also very carefully think about things like sample complexity and like sample efficiency, like being able to learn with less data the way humans can learn. You need to think about longer time horizons and think about like what do the next model families look like. There are a lot of interesting models similar, but also quite different to transformers. You can have models with longer time horizons, longer context windows, if you will, maybe even unlimited context windows eventually in some form. And then we'll have to think about what kinds of data do we give these models, right? Like I love language. Natural language processing has been my field for over 20 years and invented word vectors and contextual vectors and prompt engineering and a few other things that are pretty fundamental to things like ChatGPT now. But there's also a lot of other stuff, right? There's physics, there's chemistry, there's biology, there's medicine. And ideally, a super intelligent model has access to reality at a much better level than just through language describing reality. Every model you have on ChatGPT, we also have on u.com. But we also have a very good internet connection. We also have a very strong ability to incorporate your own data. You can upload a textbook, you can upload a research paper, you can upload a bunch of CSV files and tables, and then have it think about and work over your own data and so company internal data and external web data. And you get sources for everything, and it's so accurate you can actually rely on it for your work. And that's why we have companies like Mimecast, a big cybersecurity company, or Maryville University, or the Institute of Advanced Study at Princeton. They're all customers of u.com because they've compared us to the competition and have seen that we're much more accurate. DPA, the German press agency, they're all customers because ultimately when accuracy matters for your job, you're going to want to use u.com and not ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm. Well, because that's like the big issue is like the meme right now with AIs and the hallucinations, right?
We almost fully solved it. We can't logically say we fully solved it, but I have not seen u.com hallucinate in a very long time, especially now research modes, which are extremely accurate. And for every citation, you can click into it and it will scroll down and mark in the browser where it found that fact. Mm-hmm. No one else does that.
Because it's constrained or?
It's not constrained because it's implemented well, and we built better models and infrastructure and an operating system around those models that help them be more accurate.
Mm-hmm.